Hi guys, and welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I will go through what are, in my opinion, the best ways to make some gold in Season 4 of Dragonflight. So please keep in mind, these are my personal recommendations, and I'm sure you will agree and disagree with some of them. And also, of course, some of the different items on this list might change during the season, simply because some activities are good and relevant only during a certain period of time. So make sure to keep that in mind as well. And during this list and this video, you will see that I'm also going to mention a few investment opportunities that I think will be really relevant for the war within. And I will consider them as part of this list because this is another way to make some gold. So let's start with our number one. And at number one, we will have all the different mythic BoEs from all the different awakened raids. So of course here I'm only talking about the raids when the awakened difficulty mode will be activated. And the reason why it's important is because if you're doing it, for instance, without this, the different BoEs will be with the normal eye level from the raid and not the upgraded awakened eye level. So one thing that is very important to keep in mind is the fact that for now, at least, they will have a rotation between the different raids. So for instance, for the two first weeks, it will be the Vault of the Incarnates. Then for the two other weeks, it will be Aberus. And then finally, Amir Jassil. So it means that, for instance, when you farm all the different BoEs from the Vault of the Incarnates, then you won't be able to farm them in Awakened difficulty for another month. So it means that if, for instance, there are a lot of people selling them, by the time you arrive here, you will probably already have a lot of these people without any stock anymore, and so the value is going to increase. Also, another very important thing to keep in mind is the fact that with all these different raids, you will be able to get a lot of different type of BoEs. So here, let's take, for instance, Lever as an example. From the Vault of the Incarnates, as you can see, you can get this chest piece right here and this boost, as well as, of course, this ring right here. So then, when you go in Aberus, you will also be able to get the gloves, as you can see, and the shoulders, which is a really good addition as well. And then, of course, when you go to the last raid, Amir Jassil, you will be able to get the ring. So you will be able in total to get 2 rings, as well as the helm piece. And of course, you also have another waist. But so in total, you can almost get an entire set just by buying all these different BoEs. So for this reason, there's going to have a lot of people buying full sets of mythic BoEs, and I think this is a really good time to farm all these different BoEs. And each time you will be able to do these different farms. So this is, in my opinion, something that is going to be very good. Of course, not until the end of the season, because as soon as we will approach the pre-patch for the War Within and the end of the season, these different BoEs are not going to sell anymore. But for the next few weeks and the next few months, probably, these are going to be really, really good ways to make some gold in Season 4. Here, of course, I want to insist on the fact that if you want to sell some of these different mythic BoEs, I would recommend you to try and do it on high pop realm, simply because if you're playing on a low pop realm or a medium pop realm, it might be a little bit difficult to sell some of them. So if you can, whether by asking a friend or if you have a second account and you can do it on your own, try to transfer these different items to iPop realms and try to sell them there, because most likely you will be able to sell them faster and for a higher price. Also, of course, in order to find a group and actually do these different farms, you just want to go in Primate Groups, Raid Dragonflight, and here you want to type BoE, and sometimes you will, as you can see, have some of these different groups available, and then you can just join and try to get some of these different BoEs. After that, at number 2, we're gonna have the TimeWalking event for Cataclysm. So this event will happen, as you can see right here, on June 5, and it will last for 1 week. And the reason why this event is gonna be so good is simply because during the event, you will be able to get all the different BoE weapons from the raid in TimeWalking difficulty, and some of them will be able to even scale to eye level 506 that can then be further upgraded. And so these items will be sold on the auction house for millions of gold. So if you go here and you go in TimeWalking, as you can see, all the different items are now at 493 eye level. And one thing that is very interesting is the fact that some of these items, as you can see, are BoEs. So all the different BoEs from bosses will remain BoEs that you can then sell on the auction house. So you will first be able to get all these different BoEs from the different bosses, and also during that week you will be able to complete the quest that will require you to kill the last boss, and inside of this cache you will have a chance at getting some of these different BoE weapons with an high level of 506 that can be upgraded to 522. So these different weapons again are going to sell for a lot of gold. The main reason is simply because on the auction house you can't buy any really good BoE weapons, and right now the highest that you will be able to buy from the auction house is 424. So basically it means that for a lot of people this is going to be the best way to buy all these different BoE weapons and to get some good gear from the auction house. So during that week, I would really recommend you to do it on all your different alts. Make sure, of course, to do it on alts that can actually drop these different BoEs, because for instance, if you want the shield, you will need to do it on a class that can actually use the shield. So let's say you're playing, for instance, on the Paladin, you want to make sure to use either the tank spec or the healing spec in order to have a chance at getting the shield. Same on the warrior. But like that, normally you will be able to make a lot of gold if you manage to get some of these BoEs. And of course, there are not only the weapons, there are other type of BoEs that can also drop. So for instance here, as you can see, you have the different shoulders that I believe can also drop. You have, for instance, these different wrists. So you have tons of different items that can drop from different bosses. Again, for this category, I would recommend you to try and sell them on high-pop realms, simply because on low-pop realms, it's gonna be just a little bit more long and a little bit more struggling. After that, at number 3, we're gonna have boosting activities. So boosting, whether it is for PvP or PvE, is gonna be very good during this season. And one of the main reasons is simply because a lot of items will be way more difficult to get in the War Within or will be completely removed from the game. So for instance, one of the best selling items I think is gonna be the Reigns of Anurelos. This is the Mythic mount from Pirak, and this mount right now is still a 100% drop chance, but when we will be in the War Within, it will probably be lower than 1%, and so then it's going to become very, very annoying to get. So a lot of people are going to be interested in buying boosts in order to get this mount, especially right now. For instance, Amir Drasil is not with the Awakened difficulty, so it means that when all the big guilds will have the good gear from the Awakened raid, they will be able to boost Amir Drasil very, very easily. Next to that, of course, we have, for instance, the Keystone Master mount, we have all the different elite sets, and we have a few more things, and so I think boosting is going to be pretty good in Season 4. I know this is not something that is for everyone. I know that sadly you need to have a lot of players with you and to be well organized and very skillful in order to offer this type of boosting services. But still, I wanted to mention it because if we're talking about making gold in World of Warcraft, this is definitely one of the best ways. Now, at number 4, I will be talking about some items that you can get from the 3 raids from Dragonflight, and some of them will be really, really good for you to farm, and especially you want to get them during Season 4, but even after, because they will become even more valuable at the end of Dragonflight. So these different items include some of the different BoEs that we already mentioned, but here I'm not talking about only Mythic difficulty, because the main reason why people want these items is not because of the different stats and the high level, but because of the appearance of the item. So first we have this one right here, which is the helm for the Death Knight set from the Vault of the Incarnates. And again, keep in mind, when you're doing it in different type of difficulties, the appearance will also change. And so this is why this is a really good thing to do in all the different difficulties. Then after that, we're gonna have our best item, and this is the Crucible Creator's Wingspan, which is the Priest Season 2 gear. And again, the reason why these items are interesting is because, as you can see, the only way for a clove character that is not a priest to get this appearance is through the BoE. And so for this reason, a lot of people are buying the BoE from the auction house just to get the appearance. So here again, I would recommend you, especially when Aberrus will be available in Awakened difficulty, to do it in LFR, in Normal, in Heroic, in order to have a chance at getting some of these different items, because all of them can sell, and they do sell for a lot of gold. So I would really recommend you to do that. And then for the last raid, Amir Drasil, the only one that I think is really interesting is the Mask of the Unbidden Grim. This is the Death Knight mask again, and this one is also really, really good. So all these different items are things you will be able to farm throughout the season, and people will still buy them for the appearance. Of course, the value on some of them is going to drop a little bit simply because more people are going to be able to farm them as mythic BoEs, for instance, and sell them for the high level and the armor stats. But for sure, for instance, all the LFR ones, all the heroic normal ones, probably you will still be able to sell them for a lot of gold. Also, I would personally recommend you to try and farm some of them during Season 4, hold on to them and sell them later on during the War Within, because these items will always sell, and in the next expansion they will probably double or triple the value that they have. After that, we're gonna have all the different green PvP items that you can craft currently in Season 4, and all these different items can be sold for a lot of gold. So all these items are things that sell super fast and that are pretty easy to craft. If you don't have the different recipes and everything, you can buy them directly from the auction house, which is, I would say, very useful, even though some of them might be super expensive. So it's really up to you to see how you want to spend your gold and if it's a good investment or not. But even though right now on many, especially hyper realms, these items are already very, very cheap, trust me, after a few weeks, people are going to give up and they're going to realize that it's not a good time investment. And like that, the market is going to be just a little bit better and you will be able to probably sell them for a higher price. Especially, again, for these items on low pop realms and medium pop realms, you will be able to make a lot of really, really good sales. So this is something that I would recommend you to do. It doesn't require to, again, invest a lot of time or, anything like that. It's very easy and normally you will be able to sell quite a lot of them. So this is a pretty good steady way to make some gold throughout this season. After that, we're gonna have raw gold farming. So raw gold farming can be pretty good, especially right now with all the different world quests. You can easily do all these different world quests and sometimes some of them will reward you with quite a lot of gold. So of course, it's not always the case. Sometimes, as you can see, for instance, right now, sadly, there are not a lot that are offering gold. But when you have a lot of these ones that offer gold, just go around with all your different characters and do all these different quests, and hopefully you will be able to make a lot of gold like that. Also, of course, there is the Dream Search, and when the Dream Search is up in an area, sometimes you can get the buff that will allow you to get double the amount of gold. And so if you see that at some point in some areas there are a lot of these different world quests that reward you with gold, wait maybe for the Dream Search to be up and then wait for the buff to be there, and like that you will be able to make a lot of gold. So this is something that I know a lot of you enjoy because it doesn't require to do any type of farms. It doesn't require to sell anything on the auction house. You just have to do all these different quests. But it's definitely, in my opinion, not the best way to make some gold. But this is a good way to make some raw gold pretty easily. And I think it's important to mention that you can also do the same in, for instance, Shadowlands, where as you can see, some of these different world quests can still reward you with like 800 gold or more. And so I think if you are really into doing this type of raw gold farms with the world quest, you can also do that because this is something that is very, very easy to do. And you can make a little bit of gold quite easily with all these different world quests. One thing that I would recommend you to do if you want to do all these world quests in the Shadowlands is to have engineering on your character and then to use, as you can see here, the wormhole generator for Shadowlands, because like that you will be able every 15 minutes to travel to a new area of the Shadowlands. And so this is something that will make it even easier for you to farm all these different world quests. Now, at number 7, I'm going to talk about flipping all the different mythic BoEs. So this is something that I think can be really good because, again, sometimes people don't really know the value of these items, or on some realms, there are too many people selling these items and so the values start to crash. And what you can do is simply buy some of these items and then transfer them on other realms. Again, this is free if you have a second account or a friend that is okay with helping you. And then you can sell these items on other realms. So in my opinion, this is something that can again reward you with a lot of gold, and it includes also all the different TimeWalking BoEs that I mentioned from Firelands. So this is something that of course is also risky because sadly sometimes you're gonna like invest a lot of gold and you're gonna lose gold, but this is always the case with flipping items in the game. Still, I do think sometimes this is pretty easy to make a lot of profit, and personally, sometimes I'm able to make 10 millions in one season just by flipping these different BoEs. So it's really up to you to see how you want to do. Also, if you're wondering how you can find some of these different items and then invest in them, you can use the Oribos exchange. So for instance, here, as you can see, let's say you want to invest in this BoE in Mythic difficulty, you can click on it, and then you will be able to see where all these different items are being sold in your region. And then you can see where some of the cheapest auctions are available and then buy them on this realm if, again, you think this is a good deal. And obviously, you can do the same in order to sell these different items. For instance, if you see that one of the hypop realms doesn't have any at the moment, you can decide to go and sell it on this realm instead of having a competition on another realm. Then we're going to have this item right here, the recipe for the Hoard of Draconic Delicacies. So this is an item you can farm pretty easily, and this is a recipe that you can then sell on the auction house. And as you can see, it still sells for on average like 99,000 gold on European realms. So in order to get it, it will take you, I believe, like maybe 1 week, but this is again very, very easy to do. So you want to go where the Ruby Feast is available and go see basically Rumia Straza in Vardrakan. As you can see, she will be located just here. And you will just need to do all the different quests right here in order to finally get this Hoard of Draconic Delicacies that you can then sell on the auction house. So this is something I would recommend you to do on all your different arts that haven't done it yet. And each time you should be able to sell it for at least 50,000 gold pretty easily. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is simply investing in all the different transmog items from Dragonflight. So this is something that maybe won't make you rich during Season 4, but trust me, it will make you rich after the end of Dragonflight. So first, of course, the different items that I want to talk about are all the different BoE items that I already mentioned from the different rates that will be really, really good still in the War Within. So for instance, you have the shoulders for the preset. These are probably going to be one of the best investments you can do. And here I would say anything below 50k gold is definitely going to be a really good investment. Same again with the different helm for the Death Knight set from the two other raids in the Dragon Isles. Next to that, you of course have also a lot of different items that are cosmetics from the Dragonflight expansion. And all of them can then probably be sold later on in the War Within for a lot of gold. Right now on many realms you will be able to find some of them for, as you can see, less than 100 gold, something like that. And keep in mind the reason why they're so cheap is because these are common drops from some of the mobs in the Dragon Isles, but as soon as no one will be playing Dragonflight anymore, these different items will become more and more rare, and so at that moment you will be able to sell them for way more gold. So as you can see, you have tons of them, and again, all of them can be sold later on, probably for a lot of gold. And you don't have only weapons, you also have some armor pieces that will be like that. So as you can see, you have a lot of these different items and a lot of opportunities in terms of investments. Now, the last category of items that I want to mention are, of course, all the different world BoEs from Dragonflight that probably will be selling for a lot of gold later on in the War Within. Especially here, I'm thinking about all the ones from Season 2 of Dragonflight because these ones were really good and looked really, really good. So the reason why, again, these items will be more expensive is simply because no one is going to play really Dragonflight anymore, or at least no one will play and kill all these different mobs in these areas. And so probably the number of these items on the auction house is going to become very, very low. And as a result, the value is going to increase a lot. So in my opinion, you should, if you find some cheap ones, invest in them and just keep them, put them in your bank. And later on in the War Within, you will see, most likely you will be able to sell them for a lot of gold. And the reason, again, they will sell is simply because they have unique appearances and all of them are actually really, really good. So you have, for instance, the ones from Season 2, the ones from the Emerald Dream, and all these different items, again, are unique appearances that you will be able to probably sell for a lot of gold. Now, I also want to mention some of the different farms that you can do from some of the old raids. And these are things that, of course, will include transmog items. So if you're not a big fan, I fully understand and you can avoid these different farms. But basically, you have a few that are still really, really good and I would recommend you to do from time to time. So I made a recent video on them, so I won't go through all of them. I would encourage you to go and watch this video if you are interested. But for instance, you have Antorus from Legion with some good BoEs like the Felflame Inferno shoulder pads, or you also have the Tomo Sargeras, you also have Nexcramas with all the different Lamented items for the tier 3 gear. You also have other items, so there are a few of these different farms that you can do. And even though these are transmog items, as you can see, the sell rate and the value on these items are really good. And these are fairly easy to get. So this is why I would recommend you to add it to your list of activities to do, because again, keep in mind, it's important to have a huge diversity on the auction house in order to make a lot of gold. Finally, the last thing that I want to mention are all the different world BoE mounts that you can farm, especially the ones from Battle for Azeroth. So all these different mounts are still selling for, as you can see, probably like around 200,000 gold on most realms. And they are, even though very rare, they're still pretty easy to farm. And so I would definitely encourage you to try and get your hands on some of them, because you might be able to make quite a lot of gold like that. Of course, mounts in general are always great, but some of them are not as valuable. And I would say these different mounts from Battle for Azeroth are again probably some of the best BoE mounts you can farm and sell for a lot of gold on the auction house. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I know I could have probably mentioned a few more things in the list, but I think these are really the main activities I wanted to recommend you. Let me know, of course, in the comments if you can think of anything else so other people are aware as well. One thing again that I really want to insist on is that if you want to become rich, you want to have a huge diversity of items on the auction house. And so that's why it's important sometimes to have mounts, transmog items, good gear, and other type of things, because like that you will be able to have different markets and cover a lot of different players. I will be back very soon with more guides and more videos, and in the meantime, I wish you all a great day. Bye!